Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Inge. I am not a Thai. I am handling. Any one of you can guess where I'm from? Singapore? No, it's not. Hong Kong? No, it's not. Taiwan? No. Malaysia? No. Sadly, no. Yeah, who guessed Indonesia? How do you know I'm Indonesian? Yeah, he's correct. I'm from Indonesia. So I'm handling AdMob in Indonesia, but I'm based in Singapore, actually. So a lot of people say I look like a Thai, but I'm not. Today I'm going to talk about AdMob and Firebase. To start off, let me ask you one very important question. No, it's not how many of you are using AdMob, but I also want to know that. So can you raise up your hand if you're already using AdMob? Okay, there's a few. So the question that I want to ask is, how many of you wants to make money? Only a little? Then the rest of you, why are you here? Okay, so I'm sure that revenue is a very, very important part of your business, be it for your income or also to grow your business even more. So my agenda today is that I'm going to be talking about a little bit about Firebase and AdMob, because I think we have covered the whole day with Firebase. But also I'm going to be talking about the various ad formats that AdMob provides to help you to monetize your apps better. But this is not the highlight for today's session. So we are going to have a special guest from Kirra Games later and have a Q&A session. So please make this as interactive as possible and ask him a lot of questions. So first, maximizing your monetization with Firebase. You have heard the whole day about how you can use Firebase for remote config. So how do you tie that to monetization or to ads? So with remote config, you can actually customize or test the content of your app, which one is actually performing better. And you can also apply that the same with ads as well. So for example, if you are using native ads or interstitials or banner, where you can customize the design of your ads. For example, if you're using the button with color red or blue, or which size of ads is better or giving you the most revenue, you will never know until you test it. So this is how you can make use of Firebase to find out which type of ads or which size or even which design will give you the best revenue. Because if you're using remote config or Firebase, the change will take effect immediately. And aside from customizing which content you want to push to your users, you can also segment which users that you want to show your ads to. For example, if your games has 10 different level, for example, and you want to segment the new users that haven't reached level 5 and the hardcore users that already reach more than level 5. For example, for the new users, you want to show a lot of ads because you want to maximize your monetization before they quit your games. And then for the hardcore users or the users that already reach more than level 5, you want to show them very limited ads because they are your loyal users. And you just want to keep the user experience better for them. So you can also do this with Firebase and AdMob. The next agenda is native ads. So I'm pretty sure you have heard of native ads. This is our newly launched ad format, which is a customizable ad format that you can make it to be blending with your apps. So here you can customize everything, basically. The size, the background color, the button color, and even the font, to make it as similar as possible to your apps. So the reason that people are liking this ad format is that it gives a very good user experience for their users because it's blending really well with the apps, and also in terms of performance, it is much better. So depending on the design, it can, in Indonesia, because I'm handling Indonesia, I'm not handling Thailand, but in Indonesia, it can gives you the RPM or the price 7 times compared to standard banners. So it gives both better performance and also better user experience. So I'm gonna run through a little bit on how you can create the native ads. So if you are familiar with the AdMob dashboard, you can actually create an ad unit here. And then there are several ad format that you can choose: banner, interstitials, rewarded interstitials, or native. So I'm gonna be talking a little bit on rewarded interstitials later. But here you can choose native for native ads. And there are actually 3 sizes that you can choose for native ads: small, medium, and large. So for native ads, the performance is really depending on the design and how it suits your app. So if you choose the larger size, doesn't mean that it will give you the better RPM. Because it depends on how many users will click the ads and how and what is the user experience for your users as well. So for example, if your app is like a news list, then probably the smaller one is better. Currently, our smallest size is 80 dp, but we are working this with our product team as well to make it support smaller size of device. So here you can choose which size that you want. And once you choose small size, for example, there are a couple of templates that you can choose depending on your preference. So for this type of templates, I recommend you to choose the one with the larger button, because for native ads, the clickable area is only the button. So the larger the button is, usually there will be more users that will click the ads and give you more revenue. So after you choose the template, this is the CSS code that you can actually change according to your customization. You can find all the, the button color and then the background color and the font as well here that you can actually change. And after you change, there will be a preview here. So after you save the design, it will take around 20 to 40 minutes for the change to be applied in your apps in live. So after you change all the design, then you can just click on the validate style button over there just to make sure that all this design complies with our policy. And for native ads, I also recommend not to use refresh rate because it will give you better performance. All right, so the next ad format that I'm going to talk about is the triggered ads. Triggered ads is actually just a special implementation for interstitial ads. So interstitials ads, just for to refresh your brain, is the full screen ads that will pop up in your apps. So a couple of issue is that people don't usually know where to place interstitials, and this is why we launch the triggered ads to give a better user experience for the publishers as well. So triggered ads is the interstitials that are triggered by a certain icon. So if you see here, this is flow number 1. There is a cat icon there that users can actually click, and then when the users click the cat icon, then there will be a confirmation page saying that do you want to see the content of these ads. And then when the users click on the ad, click on the yes button, then it will show the interstitials ads. So this one you can use either with interstitials or with native ads. So this gives a very good user experience for the users because it's very engaging for the users. And they actually opt in to see the ads. And so this type of implementation will give a very, very high CTR and also will give you a very high revenue in return. So this is the flow number one. So some of people, they don't like to have confirmation page in the middle because they feel like it's additional steps for the users to choose. And so we provide flow number two, which is without the confirmation page. So if you see here, if the users click on the cat icon, then the ads will immediately show up. So we have, this is allowed, this kind of implementation is allowed, but we have one specific requirement, which is to put the ad text on the icon there. So if you see a very, very small text there, bubble text there, it shows AD or ad. So this is to indicate the users that when they click this icon, then they will see an ad. So again, we are trying to protect both the publishers and the users by having all this policy. So this type of implementation is actually just launched like a week ago. So not a lot of people know this already. And this is a few policy guidelines that you can take note of if you want to implement this type of implementation. A few things here I have already mentioned. One of the important type is the size of the trigger cannot be larger than the major app elements. So the major content of the app has to be the app content, not the trigger or the ads itself. And a few other, which is like there should be an ad attribution on the trigger if you don't want to have confirmation page. If you want to have the confirmation page, then this is not necessary. And one trigger can only be for one ad unit. So the last thing that I want to talk about is rewarded mediation. So to refresh, rewarded ads is a video that users can choose to watch, and after they watch this video, you will give them a reward, an in-game or in-app reward as a return for them. So usually this type of ad implementation is used by games, but as you can see here, Spotify is also using this type of implementation. So it's not just limited for app. So in terms of publishers' perspective, why they want to use this type of ads is so that they can maximize both their in-app revenue and also ads revenue. And for the user's perspective, it is very, very engaging for the users to use this type of ad implementation. So we had recently did a survey for the users, for users who are using games that have this type of ad implementation, and we asked them what do they think if the games remove this type of ad implementation. And so surprisingly, the users say that it will be less satisfying because they feel like it is less engaging for them. So in terms of the user's perspective, they like this type of as implementation because once they finish watching the video, they can also get a reward in return, and that makes them to be more engaged to the games as well. And for the publisher's perspective, you can maximize both. You can maximize your monetization of both the non-paying and also the paying users. So there are two types of rewarded mediation that we are allowing now. So just now I mentioned there are a few ad formats that you can use when you create a new ad unit in AdMob. So the first one is using a predefined third-party reward. So some of you may have already implemented this type of implementation or ads with other third-party like Fungal or Unity or Ad Colony. And if you don't want to change all those settings that you have done, you can do so by just choosing the use third-party ad network settings. And the other option is to set your reward in AdMob. So this one will override all of your settings in the third-party network. And this is the 7 ad networks that we are supporting for the mediation. If you want to know more on the rewarded demand that is coming from Google, please let me know later because it is still in a very, very close beta right now. So that's all about AdMob. So it's very, very fast because I want to invite our guest from Kirra Games, Kun An, if I pronounce that correctly. Please welcome Kun An from Kirra Games.
Sawasdee krap. Should we keep this in English or should we?
What do you guys prefer?
Ask the audience. Shall we keep it in English or in Thai? Okay, so I guess let's keep it in English for now.
In English is fine. Okay, sure.
Okay, so my name is Taraseina. I'm the CEO of Kirra Games, and let's try to make this as interactive as possible. And if you have any questions or anything you might want to ask, just please fire away. Please know that I've been using AdMob since 2009, so we've been using it for a very long time. We had good and bad stuff to say about it. So,
sure. Do you want to take a seat first?
Yes. Sir.
Yeah. Yes, so Kun An, I'm pretty sure he's very busy. He just flew from Chiang Mai this morning, and he's coming back again tonight, I think. So this is your only chance to ask him questions. So I think for a start, we can start with some introduction on Kirra Games. How do you start? When do you start? And
yes.
Very basic information.
So Kirra Game was established in 2010. Kirra Game is actually a byproduct of a game called Unblock Me, if you never heard of it. Unblock Me was released in 2009, and in that year, Unblock Me was the most downloaded game in the world. So if you can think of it, it's like Angry Birds or Crossy Road in its prime. So after Unblock Me was released in 2009, it was actually developed by our CEO, which at that time it was his pet project. He had a full-time job with me in another firm, software firm, and he created Unblock Me within 2 weeks and released the game on iOS App Store. It was a major hit. It was the #1 app at that time, and later. He didn't set up the company in 2009 because he was talking to me and he was saying that he thinks that Unblock Me would probably be successful for like 1 month or 2 months at most, but it was actually successful in the #1 spot or top 10 spot for around 1 year or something. So after 1 year and a half in 2009, he set up Kirra Games. And so far, fast forward to 2016 right now, our Unblock Me has around 100 million downloads. And if you open the iOS App Store right now, or if you open Google Play Store right now, you can still see Unblock Me in the top 10 of board in iOS App Store, or you could still see Unblock Me in the top 10 puzzle in Google Play in the US App Store. So I think we've been working very hard for us to keep it popularity at that point. Today, Kirra Game have two games, which is Unblock Me and Water Me, and we're still working on a lot more puzzle titles coming soon.
Cool. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you launched Unblock Me in 2009, and at the same year, it became the most popular games downloaded in iStore.
Yes.
Okay, so I think a couple of people here will be curious, how do you make that happen? What did you do to promote the game so that it become the most downloaded games in the store?
This is actually pretty funny. So we didn't do anything. So I think the best part of it was that our game was, at that time, we could say that we had a good game. And the what actually happened was that it got a lot of it was in Oprah Winfrey's suggested app. So it was also Demi Lovato suggested app as well, and it was on a lot of magazines and stuff like that at that time. So it was purely word of mouth. So we were really lucky that at the start we started from the word of mouth, and after that we were able to carry our success with the continuous update and content that we provide in our game, and keep retaining our users from that point.
Nice. So I think if you want to have a popular games, just ask one of the celebrities to recommend your games. The next follow-up question that I want to ask is, 7 years later, surprisingly, Unblock Me still is the top most downloaded games in the store. So this is very, very rare, because we know that in the app and games, mobile app and games industry, people change very often. So not a lot of apps and games can last that long. So could you share with us some secrets? What do you do to increase, to keep the user engagement and to retain users?
So the main, for every game developer, the main focus that they are working on should be retention. It differs from application development, because app they have other metrics as well. They have like ARPU that they need to focus, but for games, its main focus is retention. So whatever you do, you have to keep the retention as high as possible, and you could do that by keeping track using Firebase analytics, which we do use, or using other analytics that are available to track how users are using your app, to really understand what are keeping users coming back to your app. And there are also a lot of great tools that are out there in Google Play Store dashboard that we are using, such as A/B testing, experiment, or the accessible, easy way to do soft launch or stage rollout on Google Play as well. We always release our feature updates on Google first, and then put in the update on iOS, because it's so easy to see our retention, see how users are performing, and see how the updates or issues are in Google Play.
And that makes me curious as well. How often do you update your games?
Our last update was around 2 weeks ago. We are supposed to release an update today. Okay. If you see me in the back, I'm trying to push the update today, but we found some issues with it. But normally we try to keep it at least once a month.
And so, so I'm currently backfilling one of my partners who's handling AdMob in Thailand. And I believe she said that Kirra Games is one of the most successful partners, AdMob partners in Thailand. So how do you start off in using AdMob? What were your considerations back then?
In 2009, it was such a different market. Right now, at this time of the market, you could go on the website and you could search Google and see any kind of great ad networks that offer different varieties. But in 2009, AdMob was the most trusted ad network for us. And it was also that we had such a big user base that we believed that other ad networks wouldn't be able to fill our inventory. So at that time, we believed that AdMob has the most trusted in terms of payment, in terms of ad quality, and also have the widest reach of inventories for us at that time.
But why do you choose to monetize your app with ads and not in-app purchase at the time?
Okay, so 2009 was a different thing then, was a different time. And in 2009, in-app was not a thing. I'm sure everyone that is a developer in here still remembers that. So 2009 was people don't actually like downloading something free and pay later on. They would prefer to pay first and then just not pay at all later on. So at that time, the preferable monetizing strategy was that we ourselves was that we would release our game for free and hope that users were hooked to our game, and then they would want more content, they would want more puzzles, which is provided in the full version. So they would then, if they played all the puzzles in the free version, they would then go and download the paid version, which at that time worked really well, and we were really able to generate a lot of revenue from that. But as time progressed, users in 2011, 2012, users don't want to pay anything at all. They would not pay for a premium app. So the behavior changed to that they want to download free apps. They want to try it first and see if they really like the content they are playing, and then they would decide to pay later on. So at that time, 2012, we decided that it's time for us to start in-app purchasing and start trying out what works. And with us trying to keep our user experience as consistent as possible, we decided that we will not change our game too much, and we would try to keep it as it is, as a simple something that you could play online, that you could play offline, you could play anywhere. So we decided to do that and sell in-app as an additional feature that you could use in-app, or you could just ignore it altogether to play our game. So today, in-app is one of our business, but it is not our main business. Our main business is still advertising in our game and trying to create our IP stronger with AdMob.
Okay. Help me to promote AdMob a little bit here. So after 7 years in using AdMob, how much does AdMob help your business?
So as of today, AdMob is our main revenue still. So 7 years past, AdMob is still our main revenue. So I think that tells a lot. And speaking of which, we do have a lot of inventories that we could easily split between other ad networks, but still AdMob is still our main provider. And I think that what we have to consider is that AdMob is an ad network, so being an ad network, they have to serve both the publisher and the advertisers. And the thing that I see a lot of Thai developers complain is the rate of eCPM that they are seeing, which I really think is how they are actually using the ads. If they are displaying the ads in a, what do you call it, in a very good user experience manner, such as the game is at a stopping point, or the level ends, or the user isn't currently doing something, the users will have a good experience seeing the ads, and they will tend to press the ad or have a look at the ad or just close it, whatever. But they won't feel interrupted by displaying it in a very good manner. So I think that is what type developer have to look into, and to increase their ECPM and to be happy with what they are seeing with the performance of their ads.
Okay, so going back a little bit on user experience, I'm pretty sure friends over here are also concerned on, they have some concerns on what will happen to their user experience and user retentions once they put ads in their app or games. So when you first start off with AdMob, did it affect the user experience? And do you have any tips on how to balance the user experience and the revenue that you get?
Let me ask, who use ads here in their app?
Anybody use ads for monetization? Okay, there's a few on the back.
Okay, awesome. So I see around 3 people. So the theory that really struck my mind, I read a lot of Kindle books. So this theory that really struck my mind is that this rule of 2080. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it. 2080 is that 20% of your users will generate around 80% of your total revenue. So in app development, in games or whatever, on the iOS App Store or Google Play, it's even more so. There's going to be like around 5% of your users generating around 60, 70, or 80% of your total revenue. That's what the game developer call whales. So, but however, there's going to still be that 80%, that 95% of users that will not pay at all. So what kind of business that you do, either games or app, you have to consider on what terms, on how you are going to monetize those 95% of users that are not actually paying in-app purchase for your app at all. So I think that is what everyone needs to consider, is that you need to maximize your revenue. You need to maximize it by first putting priority on your in-app, and then putting priority on that other 90% that are not your paying users. And if you use ads, trust me, there's going to be around 1 or 2 or 3 people that will always be unhappy with how you integrate your ads. They're going to always complain. So don't worry about it. It's natural. It's human behavior. They're going to complain with your ads. You just have to let them go and focus on the users that are actually pressing the ads, that are actually our users and experience our app in the way that we want them to. So focus on the users that are using in-app and users that are looking to the ads, not the users that are just a few people complaining about it.
Okay, so can you give like more recommendation on where is the best placement for ads to minimize the user complaints?
There's no great answer, because if you read a lot of suggestions by AdMob, they suggest that you should just put the ad before the users start playing games. We tried that. It was horrible for us. So the best result we found was that if you put, for our users, if they complete 3 puzzles, 4 puzzles, or 5 puzzles, and we show them an ad, they are acceptable to that. They are actually willing to press the ad on that terms. So what I would suggest you is that if you're going to use ads, be very analytical about it. Try to track your users and see how they are using the ad. Try to measure the session length. Try to measure where they are dropping off, and try to monetize your app with ads by that. Try to find where they stop playing. Try to find where they will drop off and monetize right there.
Yeah, so I think a lot of this information you can get from Firebase Analytics. Yeah. And I think A/B testing also put a great part as well for the success. The next topic that I want to touch on is on policy, because I know it's a very, very sensitive topic to those who are using AdMob. I know a lot of people in Thailand market, they are scared for their apps to get banned because they violate the policy. So could you give some like recommendation, tips and tricks on how to stay compliant with the policy, but also maximizing their revenue?
I think the policy issue is that since Thailand is like a hub of great internet marketers, those kind of developers are developers that release like 100 games, 200 games, 300 games, 400 games, or the last one, there's this internet marketer that I met, and he said that he released around 20,000 games, which is a lot. And the issue with that is that sometimes they cannot control how the ads are displayed. They don't really have time to look into all their apps or see how their games are displaying ads, and sometimes they are displaying the ads right in the game screen unintentionally. So So I think that affects a lot of people, and it's becoming. I think it's a very big issue for Farsight. Last time I talked to her, she felt very hurt with a lot of comments that were made towards her. So I think we have to try to spread out how we should be using ads and spread out for those internet marketers so they could make money. They don't get banned, don't get the money taken away from them. So they could make money, and AdMob as well, advertisers as well could still do their business without being unintentionally clicked by the users.
Okay, before I continue with the list of questions here, I'm going to open up to the floor. Is there any questions from the audience? Feel free to ask in Thai. I will not understand, but it's okay. Any questions for Kun An here?
Can I ask what ทำแอปอะไรกันบ้างครับเป็นแอปเป็นเกมหรือเป็นอะไรกันบ้างครับเนี่ยใครทำเกมบ้างครับเกมอินดี้ใช่ไหมมีเกมอินดี้1 คนแล้วที่เหลือเป็นแอปเหรอครับแอปข่าวข่าวอะไรครับโอ้ไทยรัฐเหรอครับเป็นโฆษณาด้วยหรือเปล่าหรือไทยรัฐนี่ถ้าเกิดเป็นไทยรัฐนี่ก็คือเป็น direct deal กับโฆษณาเลยใช่ไหมครับบริษัทโฆษณาเลยหรือเปล่าแล้วที่เหลือเป็นอะไรถามได้ไหมครับว่าทำเป็นใช้โฆษณาใช้ in app หรือใช้อะไรกันหรือเปล่าครับจะได้ความเข้าใจมีผู้กล้าไหมที่ใส่แว่นเสื้อเขียวครับทำอะไรครับพี่ที่ก้มลงนั่นแหละครับไม่ต้องหันซ้ายเลยครับพี่แหละครับทำอะไรครับเป็นเกมเหรอฮะวิตะกี้ถามไม่ยอมพูดเป็นเกมอะไรครับเป็นเกมเลยแนวดีก็ยิงมากกว่าก็มีเยอะครับมีเยอะแล้วก็เป็นธุรกิจที่หลายคนทำแล้วประสบความสำเร็จมากครับก็ยินดีด้วยครับก็เป็นธุรกิจที่น่าสนใจอีกอันหนึ่งนะครับเราเป็นไงบ้างครับโดนแบนบ้างยังถ้าผ่านเกณฑ์มาไม่จะโดนเกณฑ์น้อยจากใครครับผมก็มีว่าแนวโอเคไม่ใช่จากผมแน่โอเคครับต้องบอกไว้ก่อนนะครับว่า so he's saying that someone in his internet marketing group got a trademark notice from me so I have to say that we have a marketing team that looks up after this and they will try to see if anyone is violating our trademark issues and send a notice to them so nothing's personal but it's business as usual.
Okay, so continuing from our last topic, do you as Kirra Games have faced any challenge from AdMob or any issues in using AdMob before? Or everything is smooth sailing?
I think with AdMob everything is pretty simple as it should be with an ad network, but what have always been the issue for us is that we try to find ways to maximize our revenue using AdMob. And in the past, with mediations, with real-time optimization from it, it's been a little bumpy adjusting that, but from what I talked with the AdMob team, it's improving, and we want to see more cool features from it. We want to see more ad network with the SDK mediation and such. So I talked with them, and there's going to be a lot of new features with AdMob, so I'm very excited for that.
Cool. So I think we have discussed enough on AdMob. Moving the topic broader a little bit to Thailand market. What type of games do you think is suitable for Thailand market?
Thailand market is a very unique market. It's the games that are making money are mid-core games. Since our game taste is very similar to what Japanese or the Eastern play. So if you're going to want to make money in terms of games, mid-core games are very, very popular here. And we also have a pretty good taste for puzzle games as well, since we do play a lot of puzzle games from the West as well. So, but then again, puzzle games here doesn't make as much money as social games or as mid-core games.
So are you developing mid-core games anytime soon?
No, that's not our specialty. But for us, our long-term strategy is to create unlocking as a strong IP and keep trying to strengthen that, and then we will come up with some more mid-core games and try to branch out in the categories.
Okay, and how about communities? What is your view on how important communities are to help to grow the apps and games popularity?
Thailand has one of the most highest Facebook usage in the world, and its Facebook is Line. So if you're gonna release a game here, you better have a social network manager. You should have someone that keep up with the community and try to update the community with new updates, and have a live op for your game that is doing live updates and communicating with the community through Facebook or Line.
Okay, and after being a mobile game developer for so long, for 7-8 years, what was your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge was being a game developer, I think.
Can you explain that?
So I've been a game developer for around, I think 14 years or 13 years, and my salary for being a game developer is 6,000 baht, the first entry. So with that 6,000 baht, I wasn't even able to pay my own rent. Wow. So, but I think time has changed. Starting from that point to this point, I was very lucky that my family didn't force me to do what I didn't want to do. I actually graduated from economics, so they would just let me do what I want to do, which is being a game developer. So I kept doing that for all this time, and I was very lucky that everything fell into parts. And so I guess the hardest part was trying to be a game developer at that point. I think right now the game developer community, developers are getting a lot more attention. They're like superstars now. A lot of developers here are like superstars now, so it's not like that time anymore.
So then, do you have any tips for the developers' friends or the friends over here?
My tip is be analytical with what you do. If you're an app developer, if you're a game developer, be very analytical. Try to analyze how your users are doing, are playing your game, are playing your app, and try to really do whatever it takes to make money from it. You have to really look into the data and see where's there's a hole, where there's an opportunity for you to that.
Okay, I think we are running out of time. Any last questions from the audience? If not, then thank you so much for coming for the session. And thank you so much for the audience.